Milo, is that you?
There, I think I got it. Well, it's that time again. It's Monday morning, and it's time for another podcast on the old AML network. Once again, we are rocking the. We're rocking. I'm not sure we've ever rocked the airwaves. We are lightening the. No, that's no good either. We are brightening the airwaves over your car radio or over in your earbuds or while you've got it playing or while you're working on the layout. We are once again brightening your day with the sounds of the AML network. So this is the AML All-Star Variety Hour number 13. And we're slowly working our way through the interviews that I did way back in May of 2019 at the scaletrains.com picnic and the Hiawassee River Rail Excursion or Railroad River Excursion, and which was really cool, but I had really bad laryngitis that day. So every time I go to edit one of these, it kind of makes me cringe. But this time we have Dale Bryant, a couple of minutes with Shane Wilson's son, Brendan, James Wright, and my laryngitis was really bad by the time I got to James Wright. And then a couple of minutes with Campbell Rice. And then after that, we have Matt Martin, who is a train master in Alliance, Nebraska. And he gives us more insight into what that world is like. Pretty cool young guy. Been a lifelong model railroader. Now he's a train master with the BNSF. And it went on a really big yard. As Adam Pinella says, it's really 2 yards. It's kind of an L shape. Also, some good news. David McRae, who's a regular listener to the show, long-haul trucker, out there listening to the show. Well, this I always loved Casey Kasem. I always wanted to be able to do a impression of Casey Kasem. My son does it really well, but I can't, so I won't even bother. So anyways, David has graciously volunteered. He wants to give away some shirts. So the first 5 people that email a modeler's life at gmail.com, that's modelers with 1 L, like railroad, not 2 L's like Lionel. The first 5 people to email us with Subway Chime Go in the subject line, you'll get a free t-shirt. So make sure you include your address. No, don't bother with that. I'll email the first 5 people and ask them for their details. So let's go with that. You put in the subject line, you put Subway Chime Go. A cheerful message would be nice as I open up all these emails. And then I will contact the first 5 people, and you'll get a free t-shirt. Thanks to David McRae. Brian, I really explained that really well, didn't I? Okay, that's it. Let's get going here. Let's motor. Let's keep going along here. Let's get this show on the road. It's time for the All-Star Variety Hour number 13. Subway Chime, go! All right, so now I'm here with Dale Bryant, Bryant.
That is correct, Lionel. You got my name correct. Can you imagine? My first name is Dale.
And what does it say in your shirt there? Okay, that's the shirt from the convention, the Southeast Region Convention.
Yes. So we're hosting that and doing really well.
I know. I mean, the turnout here is spectacular.
Turnout here is great. We got last time I heard we had 261 registered, and we got a couple more that's come in since then, from what I heard this morning.
And you just gave me the coolest thing that anybody's given me since I started this podcast, and I've gotten a lot of cool things. So,
oh my goodness! What in the world did I give you?
What do you do for a living?
I'm a computer guy. I work for a real estate company, and I take care of their computers for them.
And where do you live exactly?
Chattanooga. Hickson, but you might as well call it Chattanooga because it's a suburb.
All right. And what do you model?
I model HO scale, mostly NS. I've got, well, I'm down to about 20 modules now, but at one point in time I had 48 modules.
48 modules.
Yeah.
So modules, so do you set it up in your basement in modular form, or do you go with a club or something? Or?
I'm with a group. We set up whenever I've got it. When it's in my space, it's just in storage.
Okay.
And unless I take one or two of them at a time and set them up to work on them.
Right.
But then we have about somewhere between 5 to 10 shows a year that we take our modules to.
Okay. And what's the name of the group you belong to?
Chattanooga Modular Modelers.
Chattanooga Modular Modelers.
Yes.
And you guys have like there's those guys Sipping and Switching or Fremo. They have standards that they build to. Did you guys come up with your own standards?
We did. Our standards have grown over the years. We started out originally back before the NMRA had their standards, and then when the NMRA had standards, we sort of moved our modules over to that.
Right.
And then we added more to that. We started out, originally our standards came from a group over in Nashville, Tennessee.
Right.
And then from there, everything has grown. And now we got 4 tracks. We got 2 main lines and 2 branch lines that runs around. We've got about 7 or 8 people that own modules and about 50 people in the group that go with us at different places to set up.
Wow. And what's the name of your group?
Chattanooga Modular Modelers.
I just asked you that, didn't I?
You did. That's okay. I'll say it again. We have a website, too.
Oh, do you?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
All right. What's the address of the website?
It is www.chattenmod.org.
Better go and say that again.
www.
I like the let me see the www part. www.
There you go. CHATT. That's with 2 T's.
All right.
MOD.org. And, of course, that's the abbreviation that we've came out with for Chattanooga Modular Modelers.
And you know I have it as .org, don't you?
We've got it as .org, but you can get there on a .com, a .info, or a .us.
But do you know why you have it as .org?
I think it's because we're a 501c3.
No, it's because you're organized.
Oh, that's it. We have organized. We organized in 2013, but we've the group has sort of been around in Chattanooga like forever.
Right.
We stemmed off of the original group down at the Chattanooga Choo Choo years ago.
All right. So, how many guys do you think you got?
About 50 of us.
50?
Yeah.
Is it like a club where there's dues and stuff, or you guys are really loosey-goosey?
Oh, yeah, we're really cheap dues right now. You better get in now so that you can get in on the cheap dues because they may go up soon.
All right. Is it loosey-goosey, or do you have rules and meetings and officers?
We meet twice a week.
Twice a week?
Yeah.
Wow.
Monday and Thursday.
All right. Dale, I'm going to ask you my favorite question because you seem like I think I know the answer you're going to give me, but I'm going to ask you anyways. Is the hobby growing?
Oh, absolutely. Leaps and bounds. It's all because of the internet.
Yeah.
People don't realize how many people there are. Modelers have been lone wolves for so long that with the internet, they're coming out of the closet.
Right. Yeah. Like people are finding each other.
Yeah.
That normally wouldn't be club type people.
The internet, the places that sell the trains, there's not as many mom and pops or retail shops out there anymore.
No.
But there's plenty of places on the internet to find it. And the thing is if you look back 20 years ago, you realize that there was more people into trains than what they ever counted because they were supporting the hobby shops.
Yeah.
And if the hobby shops hadn't have been there, if the people hadn't have been there, there wouldn't have been any of the hobby shops.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people that just never have been counted. That's part of us.
Well, sure. Exactly. Have you ever been to Scale Trains before?
I've been with Scale Trains for quite a while, since they moved into the place.
All right. I'm going to put my microphone down because we're going to get to the meat of the matter here.
All right.
You keep talking for a minute.
Okay,
You
all right,
describe
I'll
you
talk
describe what's
around
happened.
Lionel is opening a plastic bag, and he's got these new things that I just gave him, which is a dime with a back on it for sticking onto his hat, and he's plugging it into his hat and putting the back on it. So now he has a dime for scale on his hat.
That is the single most coolest thing that I have received since I started this podcast. He has given me a whole bag of, what do you call the things, these little pins that you can tack onto your hat?
Well, originally I started looking for tie tacks so that I could solder them on there. And I found them all out on Amazon and bought a bunch of them and bought a bunch of dimes and
oh my God,
soldered them up for you.
This is the coolest thing ever. This gentleman, did you take our picture? Just push the white button there.
All right, now we're getting a picture made.
Now we're getting our picture taken because this is the coolest thing I've ever received. Yeah, perfect. Oh, I blinked on that one. Look at this. Let me look. Oh, man, look at us.
All right.
We look awesome.
Very good.
Well, this is the coolest thing. So now how am I going to talk you into making more of these for me?
Oh, you just ask for them. You got my card there. You send me an order and we'll make them.
All right. That is, Dale, that is the single most coolest thing I have ever received since I started this podcast. And I've gotten a lot of neat stuff from a lot of neat people.
I hear you talk about the dime for scale all the time. So now you've got them to give away.
Oh, my God. This is so cool. This is so cool. I think I'm in love with you, Dale.
That's all right. I love the podcast. I listen to it all the time.
I don't even know how to thank you properly. That is so cool.
Well, good. I'm glad you like them.
I love it. Are you kidding me? Thank you very much. I'm gonna shake your hand.
More than welcome.
Thank you. All right. We'll go talk to somebody else then.
All right.
Okay, now I'm here with Mini Shane. He's directing traffic. It's pretty exciting. How's it going? What's your real name?
My real name's Brendan.
All right.
It's really hot today.
It is very hot today. Where are we exactly? Where exactly in the globe are we?
We're in Polk County, Tennessee.
Polk County, Tennessee, at the scaletrains.com world headquarters. And today's the big is it the Hiawassee?
Yeah, it's the Hiawassee River.
Are you going?
Yeah, I'll be in the dome car all the way in the back.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it'll be pretty nice.
How do you get into the dome car? Do you have to know somebody?
You have to have special permission. You have to have a special ticket.
You have to be the boss's son.
Oh, I mean, I wouldn't go that far.
I bet you it doesn't hurt. And okay, so how many people do you think are here today?
We're expecting about 250.
Wow.
And then that does not include our own personal crew.
Okay.
And we've got about, I think, 10 or 15 personal crew here today.
So all told, you're going to have like 260 people.
Yeah, 270 probably.
270 people on the train, so the train's full probably.
Absolutely full.
So is your dad going nuts getting this thing ready?
Oh, man, it's been mass chaos for the past month and a half.
Yeah? And so do you work here when you're not in school? What grade are you in?
I'm actually wrapping up a accelerated learning program.
Oh, yeah?
So I'm going to graduate early, and I'm going to probably work a little bit more this summer.
Right.
So I can build up some gas money, so I can drive distances.
Do you have a car?
I do. It's a 1994 Ford Ranger, 5 on the floor.
What color?
Blue.
Sweet.
She's an old beaut, but man, she still runs.
How many miles she got on it?
94,000.
Wow. So that's not bad.
No, not at all.
What is the deal with this tractor trailer out here?
We have a frequent buyer. He drives for Brooks and Dunn.
Oh, does he?
Yes, and that is his personal truck that he drives around for Brooks, and he just came from a show in Las Vegas.
Oh, okay. So he parked it there.
Yes, sir.
That's pretty cool. I should take a picture of it. Okay, here comes a van. I'm going to let you go now because here comes a van. You're the parking guy. Thanks.
Nice talking to you, Lionel.
Yeah. This is going to be interesting because I have laryngitis.
Yeah.
So keep the mic up here because of the noise.
Okay.
Have you ever? I'm with James Wright, YouTube model railroad YouTube sensation. James Wright. Describe what's happening right now, James.
Well-
We're passing an old Ford van.
Yeah, we've got some older buildings. Looks like older homes and a couple mobile homes here, and a decommissioned line next to us that's used by the TVRM,
What's TVRM?
Tennessee Valley Railroad Museum.
Oh, okay. I knew that. I was just testing you.
Just testing me.
So
You should have pre-screened these questions.
Yeah,
I need
yeah.
to know what I'm getting asked.
I know. People, a lot of 3 or 4 times, people have said, "Well, what are the questions going to be?" And I go, "I don't know."
Yeah.
Well, how can you do an interview if you don't know the questions? Trust me.
Yep.
So, what did you think of today so far?
That's been a nice trip. Just trying to get used to the humidity out there, but got to see the warehouses, scale trains, had a good barbecue lunch, talked to a lot of folks, got to put names with faces, and I had corresponded with some folks before I met them today, so that was neat to meet both viewers and other railroad sensations, model railroad sensations like yourself, and real railroad sensations like Virtual Rail Fan.
So here's a good question.
Yeah.
Not that many of mine are, but here's one I think is. What are you looking at?
I'm seeing if there's a switch, and I had it off. I felt a button.
Hey, you're not dealing with a chimp here, you know.
Yeah.
I wonder what this is going to sound like, me with my laryngitis. Have you gotten used to the notoriety when you go to something like this and so many people recognize you from your videos?
Yeah, it's pretty normal now, but it's also not really that big of a deal. I mean, I'm running a 1 or 2 people an hour or half an hour or so in a setting like this. And train show, maybe a little more than that. But a lot of people are still shy too. So I actually got shirts with my logo on it because people would circle me trying to figure out if I was the guy on YouTube. But yeah, it's no big deal. It's just model trains, as I say.
Well, it is just model trains, but it's a new world.
Yeah.
Because somebody can just, your channel's very popular.
Yeah. The real challenge is people recognizing you because you're all audio and you still get recognized quite a bit. So that's actually more impressive than me because my face is always out there.
So, is this your first time to scale trains?
Second. I filmed it and droned the facility back in 2017. So I was on my way down to a military senior management school in Alabama, so I went ahead and stopped here. Yep, and they've already remodeled, changed the lobby area a little bit, and they've added cubicles. Yeah, that whole area was open before.
So let me talk about, man, this is hard to do. I'm glad I don't do this on a regular basis with laryngitis.
Yeah.
Just wouldn't be that interesting.
Yeah, you're going to be down to peeps later.
I know.
Sign language.
Yeah. You're going to have to do both sides.
Yeah.
Ask yourself a question and then answer it.
James, why are you so great? I don't know.
So, tell the story about Dressler, because we were just talking. We're still on the excursion train. We're having a very lovely time on the excursion train.
Yeah.
And we've just done the loop on the Hiawassee
River
excursion train.
Yeah.
And I was sitting on the other side. I wanted you to sit with me.
Yeah.
But you refused. But you're at least sitting in the same car.
So, yeah, Deschler, I moved to Nebraska in 2011. And I think it was that same year or the year after. One of my viewers told me about this store out in the middle of Nebraska, which is really, Nebraska is very long, so it's still kind of eastern Nebraska. But it was 2.5 hours from where I live. So I drove out there, and I was just very impressed with the stock. And I brought a camera with me, so I filmed all of it and threw it on YouTube, and I had several hundred or a few 100,000 views, I think. And, from what they say, they got a lot of business from it, and it helped expand their business. Some people bought containers. I guess the big impressive thing in that video was the wall of containers, because they had so many varieties of intermodal containers, 40 foot, 53 foot, 48, and all the different brands. So that was really what took off, and they were explaining that to me. And it's just kind of evolved to where, they get a lot more traffic, and they say that the train show is kind of spun from that too, because they have a train show at the end of June that I'll be at, and they say it's kind of grown from that too. It's hard for me to tell what the videos do because it's a really mixed result, and I really don't track it because it doesn't do any good for me. I just try to get the information out there.
So now that you've been doing it, how many years?
This is my 10th anniversary year.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right. I remember you did a 10th anniversary video.
Yep.
With James Earl Jones.
Yeah.
So, looking back over 10 years, number one, you probably can't believe it's 10 years.
Yeah.
What do you think is the most rewarding part of it?
I really enjoy kind of giving back. So kind of off the radar, I give out a lot of train sets. I buy people trains. We do giveaways. Sometimes I pair up with Train World to do giveaways. Sometimes I give away the sets that I review if the company provides them.
Right.
And I've met a lot of kids that it's kind of changed their world, at least temporarily, because some of them, they either can't afford to get into model railroading and they really like to, or they, their parents try to provide a little bit, but it's so expensive, the hobby. Even the ready-to-roll sets are expensive, for a family on a tight budget. So people will message me, or I'll reach out on my Facebook page or YouTube. Sometimes we'll do giveaways, or sometimes we just get messages. Like we did just a giveaway for Train World on my Facebook page for a set, and then a young man that's actually on this train had messaged me. He had just missed it, so I got him a locomotive today, so that he can go and enjoy. He's got a club to run it on, so. It was not a rivet counter though, but it was a sound operator, so he can enjoy the hobby, have his own locomotive.
So you did that out of your own pocket?
Yep.
So people should know more about that.
Yeah, I try to, but that's the most rewarding thing, and I like to keep it somewhat under the radar. But now it's out there because you're such a sensation yourself.
Well, yeah, exactly.
But
you know what it is about video is the real person. You can't hide who you are.
Yeah.
And I think people should know that what they see is actually the guy. You're a good guy, you're a nice guy, you're friendly.
I am crabby sometimes.
Well, you are crabby. I absolutely agree.
When they start talking about podcast differences,
Yeah. That was beautiful. I love that. Poor Ken. I think he should strictly be known in the hobby as the dude.
The dude.
All right. So what's in the future?
Well, I'm retiring from the military next spring.
How many years you got in?
It'll be 20.
All right.
So I'm hitting the button as early as possible because I'm really looking forward to doing something different. Maybe being a bum for a couple months in between.
Right.
But yeah.
I think you'll make a good bum.
Yeah. And I'll be relocating, but I'm already talking to staffing agencies and working on. And they're like, "Calm down, James. You can't get this thing in order 10 months ahead of time." But just getting the feelers out there and getting everything sorted out.
Have you thought of doing more in YouTube?
It's really hard. It's Ken Patterson, for example. He works really hard, and I don't know that it would be something that I could do to that extent. And I think that extent, 60, 70, 80-hour work weeks is what's required to make a living. And then it's very hard for me to make a living because I've painted myself in this corner of product reviews. So if I said, "Hey, Scale Trains, would you like to be my sponsor?" Well, that creates an instant conflict of interest for the other companies, or so it's very difficult to do that with product reviews. If I was like a talent show, or not a talent show, but a show like Ken's, maybe, but I don't really do that. So
well, that's the reason I've had a few companies want to sponsor the podcast, and I'm like, as soon as you do that, then I got to think about what I'm saying.
Yeah, now Train World does sponsor the channel, but
I understand.
That covers,
but their store, they have a wide variety of.
Yeah, and they let me do a lot. I mean, they let me promote some of the small hobby shops, and they have no problem with any of that. So they've been awesome. And they're allowing me to do an additional product review once a month or so.
Right.
So, and then I turn a lot of the stuff that is given to Train World or provided back into trips. I go all over the country on trips.
Yeah.
Just went to Broadway Limited in Florida. I TP'd your house down there, while I was visiting.
What's Broadway Limited like? I haven't been there. It's just around the corner.
It's a neat little area. They've got a nice layout that
Okay.
loops around to their lobby. They have all their awards up front, and they've got a little retail store in there, and then the offices are upstairs. I also did a video on the Disney Railroad and all the railroad stuff associated with Disney.
Right.
But I've been all over the country with different trips. I actually canceled. I was supposed to do Ogden, Utah. I canceled that, but I'm probably going to be back in Milwaukee this November just to do the People's Choice Awards again.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's a lot of traveling.
Of all the things in 10 years that you've done, what's the one video that sticks out the most?
Well, it's probably that Operation Lifesaver video, just because it was so silly, but it had the most effect. It was kind of funny. But doing the how-to videos also, even though it was like a train wreck in progress, I still made a layout operational somehow.
Well, and that's a good example of the kind of person you are, because I basically said, because I was jealous. I mean, rather than the best thing I like about doing the podcast, I try to be honest.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, who is this guy with these videos, doing these videos? And I'm looking at the work you're doing on the layout and I'm thinking, well, this isn't very good. And to your credit, once I realized what was going on and you were just trying to show people, you're a stand-up guy. You were like, we made friends pretty quickly after that.
Yeah, my biggest thing is, hey, I can't screw two pieces of wood together. Watch me try to do this.
Right.
And then if I come out of this thing with an operational layout, then anybody can.
Yeah.
Because my parents were not woodworkers. They weren't electricians. None of that was passed on. They had a little mechanical skill for cars, but the other thing I told you way back then when I did the first podcast was those people that are very talented will come along. Like, and Luke Towan is one of them.
Yes.
At the time he had lower views than me, but finally people recognized that really fine detailed work, and it blew up. So, the universe writes itself at some point too. It just takes some time.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. But I think people need to know you're a good guy.
Yeah.
Last question.
Yeah.
And then I'll leave you alone. 10 years. How many videos?
I think we're at 700.
Holy mackerel.
Yeah, I don't know. Some of those are private because I've got the videos. Like, I'll do a quick family video and upload it there, and it's private. But I think it's at least 650 that are actual model railroading or excursions like this. Because I've been all over the country to different railroad museums and been on UP excursions and Norfolk Southern excursions. So.
And some of the times people are inviting you to do this, aren't they?
Yeah.
Which is pretty impressive when you think about it.
Yeah, it was 2011 when I wasn't even a large channel. UP invited me to do the excursion that goes the Denver Frontiers Days, or Cheyenne Frontiers Days train from Denver to Cheyenne. So that was pretty nice to be able to, and they gave me a position on the train, when it's something that sells out in 24 hours.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
That was really nice of them. And Norfolk Southern, well, not Norfolk Southern, but the Virginia Museum of Transportation provided a space on the train behind 611.
So, it's like this, Shane. Yeah. Wilson has been very kind to invite us to come along. So, my last question, because my voice is leaving. You know how I'm always going on about the hobbies exploding, and we're all going to be covered in railroad goo.
Yeah.
You came into the hobby as a complete greenhorn.
Yeah.
Started making your videos.
Yeah.
10 years later, what do you think about the hobby? Is it growing, contracting, expanding?
So I think it's growing. I've asked companies what they think, what's the data look like. I think it's still growing. I think I may be a little biased here, but the internet is creating the growth.
Yes.
So, and I still think that I'm seeing more young people replacing the folks that either get out of the hobby or pass on. Fairly, I think it's going to be fairly strong. The only X factor is this tariff stuff, but
Yeah, that's crazy.
I'll go on record now to say I don't think that that's going to go into effect, or if it does, it's not going to go long, because I deal with that a little bit at work, and I don't. It'll impact the rest of the U.S. economy, and I don't see it lasting for long.
And for me, the podcast, I could never have imagined the hobby is as big as it is.
Right.
That's what the podcast did for me. And does it seem that way to you? Like your situation is so unique. Complete greenhorn, start making videos, and now you're respected in the hobby and sought out.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think there's more young people connecting with each other,
Yeah.
which is what's going to make the hobby explode.
Yeah, and the internet serves a way for them to not feel isolated, because they're
Yes.
still isolated in their individual environments at school. Unless they find a railroad club, they're kind of isolated, and it allows them to connect to like-minded people. There's an estimated 200,000 plus people on YouTube that are model railroaders.
Really?
I get anywhere from 250 to 500,000 views a month.
Wow.
On those 700 videos. I know those are not all the same, all different people, but there's a good contingent of modelers out there. And, some of them have to face the economic barrier, some of them have to face the learning barrier. But overall, I think that they're breaking those barriers, finding ways to break the barriers and entering the hobby. And even if they're picking up a piece of rolling stock or two, they are still in the hobby. They may not be registering as a regular customer, but I think the hobby's thriving.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah.
Well, it's like I get 10,000 downloads a month.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought of that. Which isn't, if I was NBC, I'd be disappointed.
Yeah.
But just being a guy, it's crazy. All right. I've bothered you enough. I thank you for your time.
No problem. Hope your voice gets better.
I'm sure I will. And let me just say this.
Yeah.
I love you.
Yeah.
Like if you needed a beer, I'd get it for you kind of way.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that. Okay.
Yep. Same here.
All right, now I'm with Campbell Rice, and he says he can't hear me.
What?
So we're in the tent behind Scale Trains, and this is pretty cool, this whole thing, isn't it?
Yes, they got a good breeze through here. Oh, you weren't talking about that cool.
No.
Oh, yeah, it is very cool. They've got a nice setup here. I'm really, really enjoying
Have you
meeting
been
everybody and seeing everything.
Have you
here.
been inside yet?
Oh, absolutely.
I haven't got inside yet.
Oh, well, you need to get in there.
I know. I got to get inside. So I got to get you one of these pins.
Absolutely, yeah. Yep.
So you're taking pictures for Ken Patterson?
Taking some pictures for Ken, interviewing some people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who'd you interview so far?
Well, let's see. You're interviewing me. That's the
Right.
most progress I've made so far.
Yeah, well, then you got to get out there and interview people.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I do. But I'm going to do that mostly tomorrow down at the NMRI show.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because the convention starts tomorrow, I guess.
Yes.
This is kind of a prelude to it.
Yes.
Uh-oh, here comes the guy. Here he comes.
Uh-oh.
We're going to be photographed. Give him a thumbs up. There we go. I forget his name, but he's the guy that does the photography for Scale Trains.
All right. Is he photographing or video?
We'll just turn your thing around. What is your name? We're
right.
doing an interview with Campbell. Campbell can't hear, though. Yeah. Can you? He's got a big furry thing on his camera. All right, Campbell, you and I will finish now, and then we'll talk to him.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much. See, you can hear. I'm going to interview you.
Okay, I can hear you.
Yeah, you're just giving me a hard time. Say goodbye. Say goodbye, Campbell.
Goodbye, Campbell.
Okay, so this is another segment. I don't know when this is. It could be in a month ago. It could be 6 months from now. We have no idea. We're just going down the road and piling these segments together because it's a fun way to do it. And so right now we're in this segment. We're going to talk to Matt Martin, who you've already heard once, some other time on another segment. And Matt, if we ever get 1,000 patrons, we'll get a staff, and then we'll be able to keep track of stuff better. But for now, it's just me sitting in the cupboard trying to get it figured out. But for now, it's just me sitting in front of the computer by myself. It's so lonely here.
That sounds so sad the way you put that.
It's not, this is the coolest thing. Honest to God, in all my years of model railroading, this is the coolest thing I've ever done because I'm getting to talk to so many people. It is just easily the coolest thing I've ever done about model railroading is a hobby that offers a world of opportunities for people if you're willing to put some effort into it.
And thank you for doing it.
And you're welcome. And as soon as you send me a check for $200, this segment will be aired. I've got Adam to do that 3 times so far. So it's me, Matt Martin is the guy we're talking to, and Adam until his internet acts up, and then he's not going to be here.
Yeah, seems it's a trend.
Yeah, so we've figured out where your microphone should be. You've got it just at the right spot. So take a Sharpie now and mark on the side of your face where that is so we'll know for the next time.
I've got it. It's on forever.
Perfect. So, okay, Matt, the last time we talked to you, we talked about the Santa Fe Historical Society. We talked about the history of how you've been in the hobby. We talked about your 27 and you don't fit the standard, the NMRE standard for typical model railroader. And we talked about your dad was an N-scaler and he worked for the Santa Fe. But we never got around. Yeah. How about that? That was before you got there, Adam. He worked
N-scale.
N-scale, and his dad was a railroader.
Hey, we got a lot in common.
We do, exactly. You do. We don't have anything in common.
Yeah. Not that I'd admit, anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So, Matt, but we never even got close to talking. We'll quickly review that how we found each other was you listened to the podcast. You enjoy the podcast because you listen to it mostly when you're driving to and from work.
Yes.
And you live in Scotts Bluff, Nebraska, which is about an hour from Alliance, Nebraska. And you're a train master for the BNSF. And we never, ever got to talk about that. So let's concentrate on that for a while.
Okay.
So how did you get that job with the BNSF?
So my story is a little bit interesting on that front. So I went
Okay, hang on. You tell the story, and then we'll decide how interesting it is, right, Adam?
That's a fact.
Yeah, that's right. That's you know what? That's not a personal thing. That's just the way the rules were set, and it's the way we set those back decades ago, and that's the way we always follow it.
Okay, fine. Sorry, I meant different, not interesting.
Okay, all right.
So I applied. I was a conductor working at the Kansas and Oklahoma Railroad in Wichita, Kansas, and I applied to be a conductor with the BNSF in Wellington, Kansas. Went to the interview, got the job. 2 days after I got the job, Human Resources in Fort Worth for the BNSF called me, and they said, "Hey, we noticed you have some college degrees on your resume, so we'd like you to apply for this management trainee role." And so I said, "Okay, sure, yeah." And not being, overly confident, I kept the conductor role as my main thing because I didn't know if I was, I didn't assume that I was a shoe-in for the job or anything like that. I figured they wanted me to interview, so.
Right.
So I went and I interviewed, and that was a long process. It was about a 3-month process to interview because you go through phone interviews, you go through actually a video chat interview, which is very different and interesting. And then you have an in-person interview also. Once you get through all those things, then they basically say, okay, we'll extend you a job offer. In the final interview, they ask you, well, what are your 3 places? They give you a list of places that are open on the railroad to be a train master at. What are the 3 places that you'd like to go? So I chose, my top 3 were Winslow, Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona, and Seattle, Washington.
And you didn't get one of them.
So I got my number 1. I got Winslow because, and I applied there, with the intent of being able to live in Flagstaff because I'd been up there rail fanning and visiting, and I really liked the area.
Okay. Before you go on, when you got the job in Winslow, were you standing on the corner?
No, I was actually in Fort Worth.
Oh, okay. All right.
Well, I'm standing on a corner in Winslow, Arizona, such a fine sight to see. It's a girl, my lord, in a flatbed Ford, slowing down to take a look at me. Come on, baby, don't say maybe. I gotta know if you're sweet love.
So,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
I wish this was a lot better. I wish, honest, Matt, I apologize. I wish this was a better podcast, but it's not. It's the best I can do.
That's okay. We still all like you for it.
All right.
So,
Have a cheese ball.
Yeah, have a cheese ball. So you applied and you got Winslow because you had some familiarity with Flagstaff.
yes, and I had the thought of Phoenix and Seattle are common places that a lot of people know. So there were other people that were in what ended up being my management trainee class.
Right.
So I didn't want to jump into a place like a Phoenix or a Seattle right away because I figured, those are more readily known. People would, others would want to move there. So I chose Winslow. And sure enough, I was the only one who chose Winslow.
So your thought process was thinking that everybody else would be applying for the big cities. You thought, hey, Winslow, and you'll be set. You'll be ready to go. You're on your way.
Yes, and so I got the job, and we moved out there to Flagstaff, and I started working out of Winslow as a terminal train master. So there's
got to be a twist here because you're not in Winslow now.
Yeah, so I worked there for a year, and I was in what was basically a temporary position there. There was not a permanent spot as a train master, a fifth train master there. So I ended up being the odd one out because I had the least amount of seniority, and wasn't in that permanent spot. So in the background, while I was working and everything, the human resources people in Fort Worth were working diligently to find me a location to move me to get me a permanent spot, which was a nice relief when I finally did get a permanent spot here in Alliance, Nebraska. So they basically called me one day and said, "How do you feel about Alliance, Nebraska?" And I was like, they were like, "Well, we have a permanent spot for you there." And I was like, "Well, if it comes down to that, then I guess I'm going." So
okay, so you know how the podcast is listened. I mention on regularly that the podcast is listened to by people all over the world, like as in Nick Carlson, who lives in Switzerland, and Peter Borchards in England, and Martin Jenkins in Australia. All over the world, people are listening. So most people won't know where Alliance, Nebraska is. So I have a rough idea. Can I try to describe it?
Sure, go ahead.
Sure, and see if you're a well-traveled man, Adam. See if my description of where Alliance, Nebraska is correct. Okay.
I know Alliance well, so I will definitely let you know.
Okay. So Alliance, you know how sometimes you hear the saying you're out in the middle of nowhere? Have you guys ever heard that saying? The middle of nowhere? Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
well,
yes,
yeah, okay.
Yes.
So you're in the middle of nowhere, and then you go about 45 miles due west, and that's where Alliance, Nebraska is.
It's pretty close.
Yeah, about 45 miles from the middle of nowhere. Like it's out there. It's out there.
Oh,
it's kind of that's pretty descriptive. It's not the same description that I would give it.
Let's hear your description.
My description is if the world needed an enema, it would be stuck right there.
Oh my.
However, yes, everybody, you got to start.
There is a great Chinese restaurant right there in Alliance. I don't know if it's still there. It was there when I was there, but it was a fantastic little Chinese joint.
And isn't it a former CB&Q yard that's in Alliance?
That is correct.
And they have a huge locomotive facility there too, don't they?
Yes.
Okay, so enough kidding around. So Alliance, Nebraska is out in Nebraska, a long ways from the closest big town would be Cheyenne, which is like what, a couple 100 miles away.
We've got Cheyenne, which is it's about 2.5 hours away from
Okay,
Alliance.
so probably about an hour, 140 miles or something, and then south of Cheyenne by quite a bit is Denver, and to the east of Alliance would be Omaha.
Yeah, 360. Well, Omaha's even further, but Lincoln's 367 miles from Alliance.
I've been I've ridden across Omaha on my Harley on the way to Sturgis about the 300 miles, and it's only about 4 hours.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so all right, but you don't live in Alliance because about an hour away is a pretty fair-sized town called Scotts Bluff, which you said is about 20,000 people.
Yeah, so it's got like 10,000 more people.
Yeah, well, it's better than having 10,000 fewer people.
And a Walmart and a Home Depot and a couple more grocery stores. So.
Exactly.
Yeah, Alliance had a Walmart.
Not anymore.
When I was there. Not anymore. It was funny because when I was there, I stayed in the little hotel, and the Walmart was right next. There's a McDonald's there, and then a Walmart right past it, and everything was still in the boxes it came in. Like you pull the box off of the shelf, and it's still like everything was. They didn't unpack anything. It was funny.
So how did you end up in Alliance?
When I hired out with BNSF, I hired out in Gillette, Wyoming, and it seems like in July, I'm sure it's still this way because I can't see Alliance changing much, but the month of July, the entire town takes the July off. So they forced a bunch of us out of Gillette down there to work. And so I was down there for about a month.
Okay. So how long have you been in Alliance now, Matt?
Been working there since June 1st. So
2 months.
2 months.
How do you like it?
I like it a lot. It's completely different from what I was doing, and I do the same role that I was doing in Winslow, but it's completely different.
So you're a train master.
Yes.
Okay. So now you're going to have to describe, and no smart remarks from you, Adam.
Yes, sir.
So to tell people what exactly is a train master.
So train master is basically the boss of the conductors, engineers, the TY&E employees. So you've got a myriad of different positions that you could have, such as hostlers, herders, utility employees, along with your foremen, your switchmen, your brakemen, your conductors, and your engineers. So you have all those different positions, and basically our job is to make sure that ensure that the job they're doing is correct, and if we need to step in and show them the right way, or discipline them, or what have you, then that is our job, is to make sure that our employees are working safe. That's the first and foremost number one thing that we do.
All right, time out. What you know how I love acronyms.
Okay.
TY&E. What is TY&E?
Train, yard, and engine.
Ah, there you go. Did you know that? You knew that, Adam.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, you love train masters, don't you?
I love them, absolutely. Being a local chairman for the UTU, I'm fantastically infatuated with all sorts of management.
And Clem Harris, who's
also
he's a locomotive engineer on the Southwest Chief. He loves them too.
Yeah, because he's a local chairman for the BLNE.
Well, there you go.
The BLET.
BLT, what's that?
Brotherhood of Locomotive Enginemen and that's Teamsters now. I can't believe they did that. I'm still upset about it, but oh well.
All right. Okay. So you're running a particular section of the railroad, and you're making sure all the crews are doing what they're supposed to be doing and all that. So how many guys would you have under you?
About 700.
700?
Yes, in that particular terminal, because you go 4 different directions out of a line.
Wow.
You go to Lincoln, up to Edgemont, South Dakota, west to Guernsey, Wyoming, and south to Sterling, Colorado.
So it kind of sounds like at the age of 27, the BNSF found out you've been to college and your degrees were suitable for you to be trained for management position, and then around 3:00 in the afternoon, they took you and threw you in the deep end of the pool and said, "Good luck."
Yes, they definitely did that.
So yeah. So, well, that's what it sounds like. Like, holy,
That's what it's how we all are. I mean, me and Clem were talking about it the other night. It's like, do you believe that they let us run the train? I mean, they give this thing to us, and we take passengers across the desert.
yeah.
Do you believe that?
Except that was a pretty cool conversation. I had a conversation Matt with Clem Harris and Adam, and these guys were cutting it up and all that, and then they started getting serious about how important it was to do a good job, and it was pretty impressive to listen to, because they take it very, very seriously, that to do a good job with the amount of equipment they have in their hands and the people they have to look after and all that. So it's pretty cool to hear. So, and I'm assuming you're the same kind of way. You sounds like you're enjoying it.
Oh, absolutely, yes. I think my passion for trains and railroading has actually helped me in this role, because I understand so much more about it. Not only that, but having been a conductor before, now granted I was only a conductor for a year, so I don't have, tons and tons of experience running a locomotive or anything. But, just knowing how things work and how to do the job, and having been out there in the waist deep snow and winds blowing at 20 miles an hour and it's -5 outside, and you're lacing hoses and trying to air up a train, and it takes 45 minutes to get air through 50 cars, so that you can do your air brake test. It gives you a good idea of what these people are going through on a day-to-day basis, and it helps you understand their mentality, what they're doing, where their head's at, and it helps you be a better boss, basically, is what it comes down to. It helps you manage and lead those people to be successful. So
I think the best description would be appreciation.
yes.
Because really actually being out there and doing it, you can really appreciate and understand what's going on, and to be able to have a boss or a train master or road foreman or whatnot that even uses the word appreciate is amazing, especially that has done it, has been there, done it, and now he can manage accordingly.
Yeah,
And
I was just going to say, when a guy might call you up with a certain scenario, you may not have done that scenario, but you have some sort of sense of appreciation of the mess that he may be trying to get out of through no fault of his own, and you're not just yelling at him or saying move it or whatever.
Yeah, I don't yell at anybody.
No, I can't imagine that.
That's first and foremost. I mean, it doesn't do anything for anybody. So.
Oh, but if you listen to enough podcasts, eventually you'll hear me yelling at Adam.
I'm the whipping boy around here.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you're gonna hear that. There's no two ways about that. Eventually, one day I'm just gonna snap, and then so
I don't know how many times that trip from your place to mine's been threatened.
Yeah, exactly. So okay, so all right, so 700 guys, like, and that was before we go on. While you were talking, Adam, and I think this is really cool, and I think this will make sense to you guys, because you're both model railroaders, which every single one-to-one prototype railroader I've talked to that is a model railroader, they're always kind of like, well, when I first, I didn't tell anybody, blah, blah, blah. It goes with James Mattern and Tim Garland and all the guys, and yet you guys are doing the three of us together. What this podcast is doing is giving modelers a chance to feel like, hey, these guys don't mind if we're model railroaders and that we like trains. It's not as much about model railroading as it's about the fascination of the machines and the lifestyle of being a railroader. So yeah. You guys you're doing a service. You guys are doing a service for the hobby.
I don't know about Matt, but I know that when I was younger, I don't know why, and I've heard it from so many people. They're kind of embarrassed or ashamed about being a model railroader, and I understand, because I kind of was too, and I don't know why. I have no clue why, because I have never met anybody that hasn't seen what I've done that doesn't absolutely just love it. Like, whoa.
Yeah.
And I've been ashamed of that. Why?
Yeah, exactly. And then there's the whole thing of being a prototype railroader that, everybody's, but I think that more and more we will cross that barrier because you guys are so proud. I think what I'm trying to say is the thing I'm finding the coolest about meeting all you guys is you guys are so proud of being railroaders. You're proud of
Absolutely.
that. You're proud of that industry and proud of being part of that industry, which is pretty cool to have made all these acquaintances like that.
Yeah, I'm very proud of where I work too. I mean, I am very fortunate to be employed by not only my favorite railroad, but the railroad that I consider to be the best out of all of the Class 1 railroads.
Okay. And so the yard in Alliance is huge, right? It's like, it seems mass.
Yeah. There's 2 yards, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's 2
on
separate
L,
yards.
like an L shape.
Yeah, it's like a soft L.
Yes.
And so what part of the railroad, like how many train masters are there in Alliance?
Ooh, that's a tough question. So there's 5 terminal train masters, and you've got a senior train master, and then you've got 3 or 4 division train masters.
Okay, so a terminal train master, what does he do? He looks after what specifically?
The terminal, so Alliance terminal specifically. So basically everything from whatever yard limits would be effectively. So that's what I look after during my 12 hours that I work. And then also the division train master has a territory. So he's, the train master for the Butte subdivision or the Angora or the Sandhill. So.
Okay, so help me here, because there's 5 terminal train masters. You can't all be in charge at the same time. So
correct.
Do you have a section of the terminal, kind of?
No, so we basically the whole terminal is what we're over. So if there's 2 of us working, usually we'll have somebody inside, somebody outside. Somebody who's inside will be doing the conference calls and making sure that the traffic flow stays manageable and doing all of the more technical work. The person outside will be out there talking with the crews, helping them out, or operations testing, which is something I'm sure Adam loves.
Operations testing is what? Testing, make sure the guys know how to operate the trains, the locomotives properly, and do all the stuff properly.
Basically, making sure they're following the rules, and we're the enforcers of those rules. So.
Right, yeah. So that must be a tough part of the job, because I'm sure you got guys that are like, that's not important.
Well, not so much that. A lot of most of our people, if not all, I would probably say all of them, really say that safety is very important to them, because they're the ones who that ultimately affects.
All right, let me ask you guys both this question. I think this is going to be a really good question. Maybe not, but I'll let you guys decide. How is it that it's instilled in you that running the railroad is dangerous work and you can't be fooling around? Like, how is that instilled into you?
For me, it was just working on those machines, and when I first started out with the K&O Railroad, I had an engineer who told me one thing that's really stuck with me, and that's the day that you stop respecting those machines is the day that turns around and bites you. And so for me personally, anything can happen out there. Now we are doing our part to always drive down injuries and fatalities, and hopefully that never happens.
Right.
But that does come around. But for the most part, it's very important that the people who are working for us and with us go home the same way they came to work, because just like you or anybody else, going to work, doing whatever you do, you don't want to be coming home with an injury. Nobody wants that.
Right.
I don't want that for you as your manager, as your leader, but in the same turn, you don't want that for yourself.
Exactly.
So to me, I take it very personally. I take it to where the people that are working for me, the people who are out there switching cars and not, working on the locomotives and whatnot, those people are people that I'm in charge of. So if I'm not doing my job keeping them safe as best I can, then in a way it feels like it part of that responsibility falls on me to make sure that
if you don't realize that the importance of doing a good job, it'll filter down, and it's just that pretty quickly, I guess, standing beside locomotives, you're pretty, as you say, being a conductor, you pretty quickly get dialed into no fooling around. What about you, Adam?
Oh man, I think it was instilled in me by the generations of family before me, and just hearing stories. I mean, I remember my dad and my grandpa telling me that they used to be able to tell how long somebody's worked for the railroad by how many fingers they still had.
Right.
You know, and that always kind of tripped me out. Like, whoa. And then actually, when you get to being around it, I don't even remember hearing stories about my dad or my grandpa or something losing a friend, because of an accident on the railroad or something, whether it was their fault or not. I mean, it doesn't. Trains don't play around. I mean, they don't realize what they're doing. They just do it. And on top of that, getting some years under your belt, you're gonna have. I hate to say it, but you're gonna have situations where you're gonna realize that you could have been killed. Like, holy cow, I can't believe that. The night, I remember the night vividly that I realized I've really got to pay attention. Like, I've got to, and I was paying attention. I was doing my job. I was out switching cars. I was in the yard. I had my switch list going. I had my lantern down at my switch list, looking at what I was doing. I was directing a movement of a train coming backwards, and I was counting cars down. And I looked up, and it was at dusk, so the you could see the silhouettes of stuff. And I looked up, and I saw, oh, okay, there's my train. I realized, okay, we need to come back another 10 cars or so. And I looked up, and I saw what I was looking at coming at me was a boxcar, the silhouette of a boxcar. What I didn't see was that 89-foot flat car underneath before it. And what made me catch what caught my attention was the sparkle of the shiny wheel.
Wow.
Like, all of a sudden I realized, oh my God, that thing was there's 100 feet ahead of that boxcar that could have got me. I had to stop and think about that one for a minute, going, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I was 100% focused in the game too. And I was 100 feet off.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just, it becomes instilled in you that you can have there's no fooling around. So
yeah, we learn all these rules, and they tell you that every rule is there because every rule is written in blood, every single one of them, and that's fine to think about, or that's fine to be told when you're learning that stuff. But when you get out there and actually experience some of it and see it, and all of a sudden know people that have gotten really hurt or extremely injured, or killed, it gets drilled right into you quick.
Yeah. So there's 5 terminal train masters. So basically, these 5 guys all work together.
Yes. Yeah. Well, yes and no. So you have our schedule is basically 3 days on, 3 days off. Is the basis of the schedule. So 2 people typically will work together, 12 hours on days, and the other one will work 12 hours on nights, 3 days in a row. And the 2 others will come in and they'll work. And then the 5th person he'll either work vacations or he'll work an alternate schedule that overlaps with some of the other guys. So just kind of depends on how the vacations and the training falls during that month.
So is it always just one train master at a time, or is there 2 guys at a time?
Most of the time, it's just one.
Okay. Okay, because you said earlier one guy would be doing conference calls and things like that. So
Yeah, when we do have two, yeah.
oh, okay. But most of the time, it's one guy.
Yes.
Okay. That's kind of sounds a little bit like little Mike Wachowski, how he's in charge of he's the head nurse of the hospital, and he's kind of in charge of the hospital at night there in Oconomowoc. That always makes me nervous when I say that. Nice guy. I love little Mike. Boy, I don't know if I get wheeled in a gurney and Mike's in charge. I'm like, it's a bit of a teeth grinder, So we're almost coming to the end of another segment. So what's the one thing we haven't talked about yet, Matt, that you'd like to talk about? Anything?
No.
Well, like we covered a lot of stuff in an hour and 10 minutes, and we haven't even come close. Like, we're obviously going to be talking to you again because it must be hard, though. Do you get the sense that being only 27 years old? Like, I mean, Adam, let's finish with this subject. You started at 19.
Yeah, engineer, 18.
18.
Engineer at 19, yeah.
Engineer at 19 with the Utah Railway. And Matt, you've brought people into the studio with you.
Sorry, that was my wife and my baby.
Yeah, exactly. So at 27, do you feel is it harder? Do you think it's harder at 27, or do you get the sense that you're a young guy, or do you feel because you're a fan of railroading in general, you feel like you got a general grip on what's happening?
For me, it's not, because I really understand what I'm doing there, what my role is,
right,
as the boss, basically. Which at first, the first couple of months, 3-4 months, being so young and being the sudden boss to people who are 3 times older than me and have been doing the job for 30 plus years, there's a really fine line between being that guy who just comes in and starts telling them what to do, and being, somebody that they respect and trust that you're going to do your job so that they can do theirs. So I had to earn a lot of people's trust in that job. That's one of the things that I've learned is being so young and being the sudden boss at XYZ location. Here's this guy who's 27 years old. What does he know? Is he just fresh out of college and doesn't know anything about railroading, or is he like me, who's been into and understands trains his entire life and has a very vast background knowledge of what's going on, not just No,
you're not just a foamer. You're an actual guy that's interested in the whole thing.
Exactly. I don't tell them to run trains because the paint color is pretty.
Yeah. So now, if I come to Alliance, am I going to be able to hang out with you?
Sure. Yeah.
Oh man, I can ride the California Zephyr with the conductor. I can come to Alliance. This podcast is working out way better than I thought.
All you have to do is just have your bike shipped to Denver, ride the California Zephyr out there, and then you can come up and visit me, and then go to Sturgis.
Yeah, exactly. That's not a bad idea. All right. Well, I think we covered it. This is pretty cool. What do you think, Adam? What do you think of this young guy?
I think he's going to be just fine.
There you go.
I think I mean, you don't need any advice from me by any means, but I as an engineer for BNSF at 19 years old and in Alliance, Nebraska, I know exactly. I can feel that. I know where you're coming from, being young and having so many people older than you. And I just imagine I didn't even have the luxury of being the boss. I was just another one of the guys, man. And I got it handed to me, and you can imagine. But 2019 is a lot different than 2001. I mean, it's a kinder and gentler railroad these days. And but I think the key word is respect. Respect and appreciation. Those two go a long way on both sides.
Absolutely.
Okay, Matt. So here's my number one question. We haven't asked you yet. My favorite question of all with the podcast is with social media and everything, is the hobby growing or shrinking?
Which hobby? Are we talking about model railroading now, or are we talking about rail fanning still?
Okay, yeah, no, I see rail fanning as a hobby, and I think there's a lot of guys that do that. But I'm always a model railroader first, I think.
Yeah. Yes. To answer your question, yes.
All right.
It is growing, and social media is doing its part for sure.
Yeah,
So,
it's making it explode. As far as I'm concerned, it's making it explode. I mean, look at what we're doing here tonight. You know, you got a guy in Provo, Utah, a guy in Scotts Bluff, Nebraska, a guy in Toronto, and we're just having a grand old time talking about. I cannot see this hobby do anything but absolutely. And our average age, we got a guy at 37 or 27, a guy at 37, and a guy at 47 or 65, one or the other.
Give or take a few.
Yeah, exactly. I'm the youngest 65-year-old you'll ever meet.
Uh-huh.
And I'm telling you, one of these days I'm going to come out there and I'm going to kick your ass, Adam.
I'm waiting.
Make sure you got a half a dozen guys with you, and 3 of them are big.
Oh, I've got a lunch packed.
What a cool thing this podcast is, meeting you guys. Was this as much fun? Now, Matt, we didn't even cover hardly anything about model railroading because I was wanted to talk about being a train master. And we've done 2 segments. We're going to have to do some more another night. So is this, and you weren't that keen on being on the show at first, so was this what you expected or what?
yeah. Yeah, it's about what I expected.
Oh, man, we got to raise the bar or something.
Yeah,
we got to throw some curveballs.
So now
throwing some curveballs around here.
For the best part now is he's driving down the road somewhere between work and home listening to this. And he's
wait till you hear yourself.
And he's going to be saying, did I have enough enthusiasm when I said that? What's your favorite part of the podcast, Matt?
Listening to the all the different individuals and getting their background on what they do in their life in model railroading and how it all intertwines.
Yeah.
So that whole hour and a half segment, when you throw somebody on there, I mean, I'm all ears that whole time because I want to hear what they're doing and, who they know and what they know, what they're doing and so on and so forth. It's just,
yeah, I like it all. I like the interviews. I like when we're doing stuff like this where we're not trying to hit any particular buttons and just kind of flow down the stream. And I like having fun when we do fans or all that stuff. How many kids you got in there, Matt?
Well, I have 2 kids in here right now, my wife and my baby.
All right. Hey, Matt, you want to try this time? We've ended this segment. Do you know what you're supposed to say?
Yes.
Okay. You want to give it a shot? Go right now.
Subway chime, go.
No, you got to say it within. Well, that was Adam.
I liked it.
You liked that?
I liked it. It was all right.
Yeah, that's just because he's a train master.
Hey, I didn't get this far for nothing.
One more time with enthusiasm.
Subway chime, go.
Well, now you're talking, Adam.
Oh,
sorry.
boy.
So he's got an audience. That's what's throwing him off. Are they still there with you?
Oh, no, they went upstairs.
Okay, so then you're all by yourself in the studio. Give me one good one.
Subway chime, go.
Okay, there you have it. Another podcast is in the can. Another podcast is finished and out the door. It's completed and ready to be shipped all across the world, all across the globe, spanning the globe to bring you the finest in model railroad entertainment. This podcast is pretty cool. It's kind of a really cool thing to be doing. I really enjoy it. However, I don't think my intro was very good. So let me just remind everybody, the first 5 people to mail, I'm doing it again. You know what the problem is? The problem has always been, number 1, I'm not a professional broadcaster, so that's a problem right there. And number 2, whenever I do these, I talk too fast. I talk ahead of my brain. So I'm trying to get information out before my brain has a chance to process it. Okay, so what we're going to do is David McRae is going to give away 5 T-shirts, 5 of the original gray T-shirts, Modeler's Life T-shirts, and the first 5 people to email at a Modeler's Life. So it's modelerslife@gmail.com. That's modelers with 1 L like railroad, not 2 L's like Lionel. The first 5 people to email into the head office, into HQ, into the headquarters at Busted Knuckle, Kentucky, and put in the subject line, Subway Chime Go, will receive a free T-shirt. And you will be put in a nice little message there too in the email. It's always nice to get a cheerful message. Okay, that's it. We have a website. Let me tell you about the website, modelerslife.com. If you go there, there's all kinds of neat stuff. And I should also remind everybody that yesterday, on November 24th, if you go to our YouTube channel, which is a Modeler's Life, if you go there, you can see our latest, or our first ever feature-length film from the AML Nation. It's a great film starring Tony Cook and yours truly, the evil overlord. And it was Tony's idea. Actually, it was an idea born from a conversation with Mike the Spoon Ostertag. So it's a really cool video. It turned out really well. People seem to really, really like it. So you can go and check that out. So that's it. I think we've got everything. All that's left to do is for you to head home, stop at the grocery store. Hey, no, you know what it is? It's Chinese. How about Chinese tonight? Get some fried rice, shrimp fried rice, some egg rolls, some chicken balls, deep fried shrimp, whatever it is you like it. And spare ribs. Get some spare ribs. Yeah, bring that home as a surprise for the little woman and the kids. It'll be great. You'll be the hero of the day. All right, that's it. We're out of here. So remember, a Modeler's Life podcast is considered marginally adequate by 6 out of 10 contest winners.
A Modeler's Life is sponsored by Because I Love Sushi. You could love any old sushi, but would it love you back?
It's another Lincoln Homer.